Pesach that we speak a bit about Sefiras HaOmer. And our sheet today, this is a lengthy sheet. We have 16 different sources touching upon various different sugyas. And it all starts in Parshas Emoyer. Usfartem lechem emochas haShabbos miyoyim v'yachem esoyim aratnufo shavuos shabosos tamimois tihiyeno. So, does this yeshiva daven nusach Sfarad or nusach Ashkenaz? Nusach Ashkenaz. So I don't know whether you say the L'Shem Yichud before Sefiras HaOmer. It is in all the Ashkenazi Sidurim. I say, when it comes to Sefiras HaOmer, everybody is a chosed. I don't know why. But in every Ashkenazi Siddur, we find L'Shem Yichud and Rabbeinu Shalom. So even if you don't remember the Chumash, you remember this posuk. Usfartem lechem emochas haShabbos miyoyim v'yachem esoyim aratnufo shavuos shabosos tamimois tihiyeno ad memochas haShabbos tisperu 50 yoyim. Is there a mitzvah to count days or weeks? There is another posuk in Parshas Re'eh. Sheva Shavuos tispelacho mochel charbish bakamo tochei lispa Sheva Shavuos. And the Gemara says, "Menoches mitzvah lemimnei yoma, mitzvah lemimnei shavui." You need to count days. You need to count weeks. The Rambam maintains Kuf Samach Aleph, source number 4. Even though the Gemara says mitzvah lemimnei yoma, mitzvah lemimnei shavui, have a look at the 4th line. Va'al yit'achu amorom mitzvah lemimnei yoma, mitzvah lemimnei shavui v'tachshav shem shtei mitzvot. No, they're not two different mitzvahs. One mitzvah. So in the list of Taryag, the Rambam gives only one slot for Sefiras HaOmer. Minyan HaYom, Minyan HaShavos are not two different mitzvahs. They're two sides of the same coin, two dinim of the same mitzvah. It is only one mitzvah, but the mitzvah includes Minyan HaYomim and Minyan HaShavos. And the Rambam proves this. And he writes, if it would be two mitzvahs, we should have been saying two brachas. And the fact that we say one bracha proves it's one mitzvah. Maybe at another opportunity, we'll discuss a gewaldige kasha on this Rambam. So how many brachas do you say when you put on tefillin every day in the morning? How many brachas do you say? 2? Are you aware that not everybody says 2 brachas? Sfaradim say 1 bracha. And why is that? Because that's a machlokes Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah. The Ramah says 2 brachas. Ashkenazim say 2. Sfaradim say 1. That's the psak of the Shulchan Aruch. Could you guess why the Shulchan Aruch paskins 1 bracha? What? Could you guess why does the Shulchan Aruch say 1 bracha? Whom does the Shulchan Aruch always follow? The Rambam. It's a Mishnah Menoches, Tefillin Shel Yad, Tefillin Shel Rosh, two mitzvahs. Eino ma'akvim zeh zeh. If you only have one of the 2 tefillins, you put it on with a bracha. Everybody agrees. And a minyan of mitzvahs of the Rambam, it's Yud Gimel Yud Daled. 2 mitzvahs, Tefillin Shel Rosh, Tefillin Shel Yad. And the Rambam says 1 bracha. So why by tefillin, the Rambam says 1 bracha and 2 mitzvahs, and by Sefiras HaOmer says, if it would be 2 mitzvahs, we would have been saying 2 brachas. Why is that? Why is Tefillin Shel Yad, Tefillin Shel Rosh, even though there are 2 mitzvahs, we say 1 bracha? So why would Sefiras HaOmer be different? But we're not going to discuss that today. Maybe next week, maybe in 2 weeks. Fascinating question, a gewaldige kasha. But anyway, the Rambam explains, Minyan HaYomim, Minyan HaShavos, 1 mitzvah, but it has 2 different parts. We go back to source number 3. Usfartem lechem, the last line, Shetesvire lechol echod ve'echod. Usfartem lochem, why is it Loshen Rabim lochem? Shetesvire lechol echod ve'echod. What does that mean? Could a person be yoitze with an other? So the Shulchan Aruch says if you skipped 1 day, you cannot go on counting with a bracha. And what is a person supposed to do if he skipped a day? He's supposed to be mechaven to be yoitze with the shliach tzibur. But that is regarding the bracha. Could you be yoyse the Sefira with the Shliach Tzibur? It depends. How do you understand this halacha shetei Sefira l'chol echad v'yachad? Rashi, l'chol echad v'yachad shekol echad chayev l'spor. What's the chiddush? Why would we think differently? V'dubar to bam. So v'dubar to bam is loshin yochid. It's not v'dibartem bam, v'dibar to bam. Does everybody need to say Kriya Shema or not? Why do we need a posuk by Sefiras that everybody is mechuyev? Do we have a posuk by Kriya Shema that everybody is mechuyev? Pshita. Why not? Tosis explains. Sfarta machem shesvina kol echad v'echad. Gabi yovel ksevu safarta lachod. They are based in HaOmer. V'sheme based in soifenu mavochem kamo she'onu mavochem at Sefiras HaOmer. So Tosis explains there would be a havamina that Sefiras HaOmer is upon the Beit Din, just like Sefiras Ashmita v'hayovel. So I want you to guess, how many mitzvahs are there that depend on counting? Who knows? I doubt you'll guess them all. Of the Taryag, how many mitzvahs are about counting, about Sefira? Shmita v'yovel, Sefiras HaOmer. Any more? Mila? Don't need to count. You need to do Mila on the 8th day. It's not written anywhere that you need to count. Obviously, if you're not going to count, you're not going to know, but there is no mitzvah to count. Are there any other mitzvahs that you need to count? What? Nida? Zova? Yeah? V'safrola, she needs to count 7 days. One more. Only one more. What? Membeis Masois? That's not a mitzvah. I'm not aware that it's a mitzvah. It's not on the list of the Taryag to count Membeis Masois. One more. Masa Behema. You need to count Basiri, Yeh, Kodesh. So, Tosis explains, there would be a havamina. Maybe Sefiras HaOmer is like Shmita v'yovel. Shmita v'yovel is upon the Beit Din. Maybe Sefiras HaOmer would be the same. And that's why instead of Usa, Sfartam lechem. So by Yovel, the Pasuk says, Usfarto lacha, loshen yochid. Sefiras HaOmer, Usfartam lechem. So Chazal say, even though Shmita v'yovel is upon the Beit Din, Sefiras HaOmer is upon the individual. By Kriya Shema, the Torah doesn't need to say Loshen Rabim, because Milsa de Pshita. Like all the other mitzvahs, Shema Voidus Ukeil, they are upon the individual. Could you help me give another sfora? Why would there be a havamina that Sefiras HaOmer is different than Kriya Shema? Why would there be a havamina that Sefiras HaOmer is different than Kriya Shema? I think it's a svara pshuta. Kriya Shema is avodas ukeil. All the mitzvahs of avodas ukeil goes without saying are upon the individual. Every individual needs to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He needs to say brochas. He needs to daven. Every individual needs to be makaber al malchus shamayim, and that's what Kriya Shema is about. Counting, in its very essence, is not avodas ukeil. It's not Shevach, it's not Hallel, it's not Bakosha, it's counting into itself, in its essence, is not avodas ukeil. The only reason we need to count anything is just to know the number. When Anita counts 7 days, it's not avodas ukeil. She needs to count 7 days and then do Tvilah. B'masa behema, when we count 10 animals, it's not avodas Hashem, asira yeh kodesh. So the same is regarding Sefiras HaOmer. It is the only mitzvah shebedibur, which in essence is not about avodas Hashem. Brachas are thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kriya Shema is Kabbalah Zon Malchus Shemayim. Hallel is Shevach. But counting is always a means to an end, and it's never an end into itself. The only reason we count anything is because you need to know the number. And therefore, Sefiras HaOmer is the only mitzvah shebediba in which there would be a HaOmer. It's not upon the individual. Maybe Beit Din needs to count. We need to know when it's Chag HaShavuos. Kamash malan, shetei sfira lechol echad v'yechad. However, some poskim maintain, and that's the Mugan Avraham. Not sure it's on our sheet. I think it is. Yes, number 13. That by Sefiras HaOmer we don't say Shomea Ka'oina, and that is the Chiddush Shetei Sfira Echad V'Yechad. Not only to teach us that this mitzvah is on the individual, it comes La'afukei Shomea Ka'oina. You can't be Yotzep by hearing another person count. That is the Chiddush the Gzeres HaKosav Shetei Sfira L'Kol Echad V'Yechad. So the Mugan Avraham writes, when the Shulchan Aruch says, Lisper ba'atzmoi, ve'im yirtze shomea habrocha mi'ashliach tzibur, v'soifer la'atzmoi. Tzorach sheyisper ba'atzmoi. You can hear the bracha from the shliach tzibur, but you need to count on your own. And the Mugan Avraham quotes that from one of the Rishonim, that's the Sefer HaOmer, and that's his understanding in Shetei Sfira L'Kol Echad V'Yechad. But in Tosfos we learn, of course you could be Yotzei with another person. The Ravu says only, this mitzvah is on the individual, not on the Beit Din, like Shemitah v'Yovel, it's on the individual. But how the individual is Makayim the mitzvah, just like any other mitzvah shebedibo. You could either count with your mouth, or Shomea Ka'oina. So this is a machlokes in Rishonim, how we understand the drasha of Shetehei Sfira L'Kol Echad V'Echad. Let's have a look in the Sefri, number 7. Sheva Shavuos Tisbelacha, and that's the second posuk in Parshas Re'ei. Sheva Shavuos Tisbelacha, Beit Din. Menayin lekol echad v'yechad talmid loimer usvartem lechem kol echad v'yechad. The Sefri seems to say there are two different mitzvahs in Sefiras HaOmer. One is on the Beit Din, and the other is on the individual. So, Shiva Shavuos Tisper Lecha, that's Loshen Yochid. Usvartem lochem is Loshen Rabim, Shetei Sfira L'Kol Echad V'Yechad. So this Sefri is an amazing Chiddush. Two different mitzvahs. One is on the Beit Din, and that is Shiva Shavuos Tisper Lecha B'Beit Din. And that is why that posuk is Loshen Yochid. Usfartem Lochem, Shetei Sfira L'Kol Echad V'Yechad. Nowhere do we find, and not in Rambam, that there's a special mitzvah on the Beit Din, which means the Rosh Beit Din is probably Jewish. So he probably counted in Shul when he davened Maariv. So when exactly is this mitzvah on the Beit Din? In the morning? By night? But it don't sit at night, because ein din belayla. So when the Sefri says, Sheva Shavuos Tisper Lecha B'Beit Din, there's a separate mitzvah on the Beit Din that is only Shavuos. Sheva Shavuos Tisper Lecha. This posuk doesn't talk about Yomim. And when exactly does the Beit Din count? And who is Beit Din? All the chaverim of the Beit Din count by themselves, like just any other Jew. So do they need to count twice? And is it the Rosh Beit Din that counts? So one word could make a gewaldige difference. Source number 8. That's the Hagua Sagra and the Sefri. Sheva Shavuos Tisper Lecha. Yochol B'Beit Din. No. That's a HaOmer. Yochel bebeis din, menayin kol echad v'echad, talmud lemesvarat lachem. No. There is no real din on the Beit Din. So the Gaon adds one word. Not like our gerse in the Sefri. Sheva Shavuos Tisbarachu bebeis din, menayin kol echad v'echad, yochel bebeis din. Well, a few weeks ago was Pesach. You remember a posuk in Agoda Shel Pesach which sounds similar? Yeah? Yochel meroish chodesh talmud loime ba'avu zeh b'shor shesh matzah v'amora menochem lefonecha. Yochel meroish chodesh? No, that's a mistake. B'shor shesh matzah. So the Gaon says, Yochel bebeis din? No, there's no mitzvah on the Beit Din. Menayin l'kol echad v'echad. Svartem lochem. So Reb Chaim Evalozhin writes about the Gaon, and he talks about his great Rebbe the Gaon in his introduction to Sefer Tzniasa and a few different places. And he writes that he heard from the Gaon that he never was Magia in Nigla unless he had 15 rayas, 15 proofs that you need to be Magia. And in Nistar, 150. So I don't know how many proofs the Gaon had when he wrote Yochel, and he added one word. But it makes a lot of sense. And if you would ask my opinion, I don't know, definitely is right.
Why is it Lashon Yochel?
What?
Why is it Lashon Yochel?
Most mitzvahs are b'Lashon Yochel. So after we have the posuk Usvartem Lachem to teach us that it's on the individual, then the posuk in Rei goes back to the normal form, but like V'dibar Tubam. So I don't have another explanation, but the Gaon says there definitely is no special mitzvah on the Beit Din besides the mitzvah on the individual. We don't find that anywhere in Chazal, or definitely not in the Rambam, and that is why the Gaon adds on one word, Yochel bebeis din, menayin l'kol echad v'echad, talmud lo'emer usfartem lochem shetei sfira l'chol echad v'echad. So, we discussed some different aspects of the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer. There's a lot of material on this sheet which we did not discuss today, and we will not, and maybe, in another 2 weeks, Parshas Emor is the mitzvah of Sefiras HaOmer. Maybe we'll come back to these halachas. But we did discuss some fundamentals. Yom v'Shavuos, one mitzvah or two mitzvahs? The Rambam clearly says one mitzvah. Rabbeinu Yerucham, choylak al Rambam. And Rabbeinu Yerucham says two mitzvahs. Rabbeinu Yerucham didn't write Sefer HaMitzvahs. If he would have written Sefer HaMitzvahs, then in his Sefer HaMitzvahs we would find two slots for Sefiras HaOmer, not one. Mini Yom, Mini Shavuos. How does he deal with the Rambam's argument? Two mitzvahs should have two brachas. Rabbeinu Yerucham says, yes. Bizman shebeis hamikdash hayu kayim, there were two brachas. Yes. So why don't we say two brachas? Because Bizman hazeh minyan Shavuos is Zeichel HaMikdash, and we don't say a bracha on Zeichel HaMikdash, just like we don't say a bracha on Koreich v'Leil HaSeder, because it's only Zeichel HaMikdash. But when the Beis HaMikdash came and we brought Korban Omer, there were two brachas. And I wonder, what was the nusach of two brachas? How would we know? Because Rabbeinu Yerucham, unlike the Rambam, doesn't write what's not Nogea Bizman hazeh. But it is clear to me the nusach HaBracha was different. You can't say twice, Ad Shekadishonu b'mitzvot v'tzivon al Sefiras HaOmer. You can't say the same bracha twice. Doesn't make sense. So the nusach definitely was Asher Kedishonu b'mitzvot v'tzivon lispor et yemei HaOmer, and then another bracha Asher Kedishonu b'mitzvot v'tzivon al Sefiras Shavuos HaOmer. And you can't say two brachas before you count, because bracha number 2 would be a hefsek after bracha number 1. So probably what they did was Asher Kedishonu b'mitzvot v'tzivon Al Sefiras Yemei HaOmer, Hayom Shmoine Yomim LaOmer. You don't mention the Shavuos, because the brocha is on the days. And then he makes another brocha, Sheker Rishona B'Mitzvot Seitzivono Al Sefiras Shavuos HaOmer. And what does he say? Hayom, can't say Shmoine Yomim, because you already said Shmoine Yomim. Hayom Shavuot Echad. Shavuot Echad V'Yom Echad? No. This is not the brocha on Yomim, it's only a brocha on Shavuos. So maybe they didn't say this brocha only number 7, 14, 21, and 28, and only when you finish a week, not a middle of the week. Maybe they did say all week, Hayom Shavuot Echad, till next week. We'll need to wait a bit to know exactly what type of a brocha they said, and I think even if we wait, we'll never know, because probably the halacha will be in accordance to the Rambam and not according to the Rabbeinu Yerucham. So maybe if we could find Rabbeinu Yerucham's shul, and I don't know how he will count, maybe we will solve this dilemma. Yes, one of the proofs he brings that it's one mitzvah is the fact that we mention Yomim between 1 week and the other. If Rabbeinu Yerucham will agree to this argument, then according to Rabbeinu Yerucham, we would only be makayim this mitzvah, we'd only make a bracha once a week, only when we finish an entire week. So let me share with you a thought. Whether it's one mitzvah or two mitzvahs, there are two halakim to this mitzvah, minyan hayomim and minyan hashavuos. Minyan hayomim keneged ma, minyan hashavuos keneged ma. Many gedolim throughout the ages wrote that mem tes yemei asvira are associated with mem ches devorim shatoyre nikneis bohem. Rabbi Slo Salanter, the Musar giant, actually demanded from this Talmidim, and he said, every day of Svira, you need to work on one of Mem Ches Dvorim Shatoyre Nikneis B'hem. And whenever I share this thought, I say, why didn't Chazal say Atoyre Nikneis B'mem Tes Dvorim? My drasha would be so perfect, would be amazing. Mem tes yemei asvira keneged mem tes dvorim shatoyre nikneis b'hem. And I could easily suggest another one, to fill in the list. Toyre nikneis b'hem mem tes dvorim. That would be relatively easy. But if Chazal say toyre nikneis b'hem mem ches dvorim, that is Ruach HaKodesh. And it's not just they threw a number. And if Chazal say Torah niknas b'mem ches dvorim aleim ein loosif u'mehem ein legroya, like the lashon of the first Mishnah in Megillah, mem ches dvorim lo yipochos v'lo yoiso. But still, the numbers are so close that many gedolim felt they must have a kesher. So Rabbi Shua Salanta said, what do we do with the extra day? That's for Chazorah. We need 1 day for Chazara. Gishmak avort, but not more than a gishmak avort. It definitely is not what it really means. Because we're dealing with a mitzvah d'oraisa on one hand, mem tes yemei svira. We're dealing with a brais on the other hand, mem ches devorim. Chazara is a yeshiva sheminig. It's not a din. It's not a d'oraisa. No. But the Chidush Harim also connects Mem Ches Kinyon HaTorah with Mem Tes Yemei Svira. The Maral Prague, hundreds of years ago, says the same. So my feeling would be it's more likely that the extra day is not the last day. Maybe it's the first day. Derech Eretz Kodmo LaTorah. So before you even embark on this journey of Mem Ches Dvorim Shatoyre Niknas B'hem, the first day is Derech Eretz Kodmo LaTorah. Rabbeinu Yonah writes in his Parashat Noves, La'olam lo tishkon haTorah, ela beguf shu metukan b'midas toivus. If you don't have Derech Eretz, you're not going anywhere. If you don't have Derech Eretz, you'll never get there. So maybe the first day is the day of Hisboinenus and Derech Eretz Kodmo LeTorah. And only from day number 2 we embark on the journey of Memches Dvorim Shatoyre Nikneis Behem. That is Minyan HaYomim. What's Minyan HaShavuos? The Zohar in Parshas HaOmer says, Sheva Shavuos keneged Shiva Nekiyim de Zovo. And like a Zovo is Oilem Etumah LeTahara b'Shiva Nekiyim, we are Oilem Etumah LeTahara Sheva Shavuos. The very fast, are you aware, probably you are aware, that the Rambam is Messiah every one of Yud Dalet Svorim and Mishnah Torah with Melech Chasidus. The last halacha in all the 14 sections of Mishnah Torah is always Divrei Chizuk, Divrei Chasidus, Divrei Musar. The last halacha in Sefer Tahara is Mekvois, and the very vast halacha in Mekvois that Rambam writes. Just like a person cannot be oilem etumas aguf letahara saguf only with water, and there is memsa, a mikveh, a person cannot be oilem etumas nefesh letahara nefesh only with water, and that is Torah shenim shel alamayim, mehadat, and that is the last halacha in Sefer Tahara. So the Zohar Kodesh says, like a nida, a zova, is oilem etumah tahara only by counting 7 days. That is the Sheva Shavuos Tispolacha. So there are 2 different darkei hachana to Kabbalas HaTorah. One is Minyan HaYomim, and that is the Memches Dvorim Shatoyre Nikneis Behem. The other is Avodas HaTahara, Avodas HaKedusha, Avodas HaChasidus, coming closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lalois Metumah LeTahara. Klal Yisrael HaMitzrayim or Memtes Sharei Tumah, writes the Ari. And in those days they achieved the highest Medreges of Taharas HaNefesh and Kedusha, and that is the Avodah of Sheva Shavuos Tispoilacha. So before we mentioned that in every Siddur you have the L'Shem Yichud and also the Rabbeinu Shalom, and you probably noticed in all the Siddurim there are Sheva Sefiros, and every night we count in other Sefira. So let me share with you, what are these Sheva Sefiros about? And what I say now, you don't need to be a big makubal, but these are just very fundamental topics that are Kabbalistic topics, but everybody could understand. It's Dvarim Pshutim. Sefer Yetzirah, we learn about Eser Sefiros. Kesach Chochma Bina, Chesed Gevurah Teferes, Netzach Hoid Yesoid Malchus. Those are Eser Sefiros. Eser Sefiros is the Sprach of the Mekoborim. But those 10 Sefiros are actually the same as Asora Mamoris Nivra Ha'olam, and that is a Mishnah Perek of Masechet Avos. Ha'olam Nivra Ba'asora Mamoris. So what we call in Nigla Asora Mamoris, we refer to in Kabbalah as Eser Sefiros. But Asora Mamoris are just 10 times in Parshas Bereshis, in which it says Vayomer Elokim. Eser Sefiros have names. Kesach Chochma Bina Netzach Hoid Yesoid Malchus. Usually, b'kol to our avodah, we only talk about Sheva and not about 10. Why is that? Sefiras we have 7 weeks. And the Sefiras are only Chesed, Gevurah, Teferes, Netzach, and so we skip Kesach, Chochma Bina. The same Chag HaSukkos, 7 days. Shivu Ushpizin. Every night, we invite another giant to our sukkah. Who are they? Avram Yitzchak Yaakov, that's Chesed Gevurah Teferes. Moshe Aaron is Netzach Hoid. Yosef David is Yesoid and Malchus. Once again, we skip the top 3. Dalad Minim, number 7, right? 3 Adasim, 2 Arovis, 1 Esed, 1 Lulav is 7. And the Riyah says these 7 are connected Sheva Sefiros. The reason is, Kesach Chochma Bina belong to Olam Atzilus. Humans can't touch so high. We don't get that high. And that is why Kesach Chochmah Bina is beyond the realm of our avodah. That's in the Ramak, in the Ari, and the Gaon writes it many times in Sifra Ditznius. So our avodah centers on Sheva Sefiros. What are Sefiras? So for thousands of years we've been learning about the Sefiras, and nobody really knows what's the translation of Sefira. In Lashon Kodesh, Sefira is counting. Are we supposed to count? I asked before how many mitzvahs are associated with counting. Nobody said that's a Sefiros. Do we need to count? Each of these Sefiras have a name, not a number. So what does Sefiros mean? Nobody really knows. Some Meforshim say it's a loshon of Even Sapir, which is a gem, which is a stone that shines. But regardless of how we translate Sefiros, fundamentally, the Etz Sefiros are Tzinoris HaShefa, by which HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mashpia Shefa Eloki to be Makayim the Bria. That is how HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. That is how He sustains the world. That is how He is Machadish B'tuvoi B'kol Yom Tomed Masa Bereishis. Comes along the Baal Shem Tov, and he teaches his Talmidim a new aspect about Shiva Sefiros. And the Baal Shem Tov explains that Chesed, Gevura, Teferes, Netzach, Hoid, Yesod, Malchus are not only Tzinoris HaShefa Me'ele Letato, it's a two-way street. These are also Tchunis B'nefesh Adam. These are our midas. And every Yiddish and Neshama we have Chesed and Gevura and Teferes. Netzach and Hoid are Kesed Torah and Kesed Kohuna. Malchus is Kabbalah Sor, Malchus Shemayim. Yesod is Kedushas Habris. So the Hashem Tov teaches his Talmidim. These Sheva Sefiros are not only something we daven for and we hope for. It is part of your avodah. You need to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with Chesed, with Gevura, with Teferes, with Netzach, learn Torah, Kvoid HaKahuna, Kedushas Habris, Kabbalah Sor, Malchus Shemayim. And when we do so, that is a itarusa delatata, and our avodah goes up to the heavens, and that is mashpia yeridas hashefa, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives Sheva Eloki to keep us going and to keep the world going, and that is the avodah of Sheva Sefiros. So let's wrap this up. Mem tes yamei Sefira minyan hayomim, our Kinyan Torah, Mem chesvorim sheTorah nikneis behem. Minyan HaShavuos, our Kedusha, Tahara, like the Zohar says, like a Zava she'olam etumah Tahara. And what's our avodah? How do we do that? With Sheva Sefiros. Every day has its unique avodah, associated with Chesed, with Gevura, with Teferes, Netzach, Hoid, Yesod, and Malchus. Those are Tchunis B'nefesh Ha'odam, by which we are Dovek and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives Shefa Elyon, Shefa Kodesh, Shefa Eloki to the entire Bria. So Mitzvah Lemimne Yoima, Mitzvah Lemimne Shavuot. Two separate counts and two different Seder Avodah. Yerots, and we should be able to utilize and take advantage of these days and come closer to Kabbalah Torah. So Sefiras HaOmer is like a huge ladder. And this ladder has 49 steps. The foot of the ladder is in Mitzrayim. The top of the ladder leads all the way up to Har Sinai. And every day we take one more step. One more step on this journey, one more step closer to Har Sinai. And the days of Sefira are days of Achana, Lekabbalah Torah. Yeratzen Shiach Elkeinu Amoim. Have a beautiful Shabbos.